Welcome to the Broken Bayonets channel, where imagination is the weapon, and every detail is a deliberate lie. You stand in the chill dampness of a French forest, the air thick with the smell of pine and freshly turned earth. You are surrounded by the strangest soldiers you have ever seen. They don't carry the grim, hardened look of men ready for the front lines. Instead, you see the keen, observant eyes of artists, the precise hands of engineers, and the quiet intensity of sound technicians. These are the men of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, a unit so secret that for decades, even the official histories of World War II had no space for them. Their weapons are not steel and fire, but canvas, paint, rubber, and the raw, terrifying power of deception. You feel a low, resonant rumble passing beneath your boots, the phantom weight of a tank column, the grinding of treads on a distant road, a sound that is both undeniably real and utterly manufactured. It is the perfect simulation of force, a lie so convincing it could and would draw enemy fire away from the true battle. Have you ever wondered if the past is really the past? Or if the decisive moments we celebrate were, in fact, merely the backdrop for a more subtle, more brilliant performance? You are not marching with a combat unit. You are moving with a theatrical troupe assigned to the most critical stage of the war. Your mission is simple, yet staggeringly complex: to impersonate two entire divisions, about 30,000 men, using only 1,100 of your own. This is the ultimate military sleight of hand, a high-stakes con job played out against the backdrop of a continent tearing itself apart. Your official job description is vague and poetic: to simulate, impersonate, and deceive. You are a phantom legion, the ghost army, and your goal is to make the enemy believe you are everywhere the real forces are not. The initial task assigned to your strange, talented collective is to create a phony supply depot near the front lines. You receive the orders, a terse message outlining a site that must appear crammed with the logistical backbone of a massive offensive. You, the painter, begin sketching the outlines of The composition of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops is itself a fascinating deviation from military norms. The average IQ of a soldier in the Ghost Legion is 119, approximately 10 points higher than the rest of the army, a little-known historical fact that points directly to the cognitive demands of the work. This is not a force of brawn, it is a force of intellect and creativity. Among your ranks are people who will go on to become renowned figures in art, fashion, and design. Men like the painter Ellsworth Kelly and the photographer Bill Blass. Though Blass's primary fame came after the war as a fashion designer, his creative eye was essential here. They are not merely following orders, they are improvising on a grand scale, drawing on their civilian skills to make the illusions utterly convincing. You watch as a crew meticulously paints mud and dust onto the sides of a rubber Sherman tank, adding the specific weathering effects that airborne reconnaissance pilots would expect to see. The tank is a monumental joke, a 5-ton weapon reduced to a 90-pound inflatable prop. Yet, seeing it complete, sitting convincingly in a freshly dug revetment, a slight smile crosses your face. It's not exactly a deep fake video, but the Ghost Army's radio spoof has a similarly creepy effect on intelligence gathering. The casual observer would assume it to be solid steel. From a distance of just a few hundred yards, or from the height of a circling spotter plane, it is solid steel. The deployment of this phantom depot is a carefully choreographed ballet of camouflage and visibility. You can't hide everything. The lie must be visible to be believed. You deliberately leave a few targets slightly exposed, knowing that the enemy's confirmation bias will cause them to interpret the exposed material as a sign of hasty preparation rather than deliberate fraud. You position your inflatable trucks in neat, convincing rows. The tents are pitched with the casual disarray of a long-established unit. The most controversial and mysterious point about this initial phase is the degree to which this operation was a genuine test of the enemy's intelligence apparatus, or if it was also an internal test, a way for Allied command to gauge the effectiveness of their own cutting-edge deception units. Historians are still debating the full impact of the Ghost Legion on specific engagements. Was the enemy genuinely fooled by the number of men and machines, or was the psychological effect of always needing to verify the enemy's presence the true weapon? You feel the cold metal of a large reel of recording tape in your hand. This reel holds the sounds of a motor pool at full operation, a sonic tapestry of men yelling, tools clanging, and engines starting, all to convince an unseen listener that thousands of men are where only dozens stand. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built layer by layer. You are not just fooling the eyes, you are manipulating the ears and the minds of the enemy. The success of your mission depends on the enemy's ingrained belief in the conventional indicators of military strength. When they see the tanks, hear the radio chatter, and smell the simulated field kitchen smoke, they process it through the lens of their doctrine, and you have masterfully created a flawless false positive. The initial deployment is a tense waiting game. The work is physically demanding, setting up massive inflatable props in the dark, managing miles of sound cable, and enduring the constant pressure of secrecy. You realize that your unit is the only one in the entire Allied expeditionary force whose success depends entirely on not fighting. You are the ultimate distraction, and the measure of your bravery is not the casualties you inflict, but the number of lives you save by diverting enemy attention.
You hear the hiss of the pump,
a low mechanical exhalation that brings life to the lifeless. The inflatable armor rises around you, not with the intimidating metallic scream of a real tank engine, but with the quiet sigh of air filling a latex bladder. This is the heart of your deception, the art of making a few good men look like an entire army. As you supervise the deployment of the newest batch of rubber Sherman tanks and trucks, you realize the profound absurdity of your role. You are a foot soldier whose main combat weapon is a low-pressure air hose. The logistics of lying are demanding. A real tank weighs 30 tons, requires a 5-man crew, and guzzles fuel. Your tank, a theatrical prop of extraordinary fidelity, weighs less than 90 pounds when deflated, can be carried by 2 men, and is fueled by a small, gasoline-powered air compressor. Yet, when fully erect and properly positioned, a process you have timed down to the second, it casts the exact same shadow, reflects the light with the same matte olive-drab finish, and possesses the identical profile as its steel counterpart. You stand back, squinting, observing the scene through the lens of a German reconnaissance pilot. The sun catches the painted canvas just right, giving the illusion of weight and bulk. This is where the artistry of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops shines. Many of your unit's soldiers were recruited from art schools, advertising agencies, and engineering firms, men who understood perspective, lighting, and industrial design. Their mission was not to replicate reality perfectly, but to replicate what a target expected to see through a field glass or a blurry aerial photograph. The difference is subtle, but vital. They learned the rules of visual reconnaissance, the signature tracks left by tank treads, the specific pattern of tents for a headquarters company, the proper spacing between vehicles in a motor pool, and broke them just enough to look realistic, but not too perfect, which could arouse suspicion. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer. One of the most fascinating details, a surprising or little-known historical fact, is the degree of customization. Your crew spends hours painting tire tracks onto the canvas, You recall one operation near the front lines where you were tasked with replacing a real, withdrawing tank battalion with your Phantom unit in a single night. General Patton's Third Army is moving here while you create a diversion there. The real tanks rumble past you, engines roaring, leaving a thick scent of diesel and the vibration of their weight in the earth.
Get that in position!
Minutes later, the quiet work begins. Inflating the rubber substitutes, positioning them in the freshly vacated positions, and meticulously creating the illusion of continuity. You watch the sun rise, and where there was a powerful, active battalion, there is now only silence and canvas, a phantom defense holding a crucial sector. This reliance on illusion was a controversial or mysterious point for the conventional military mind. Many high-ranking officers initially struggled to
Almost
accept
there,
that a
just a
unit
little
could be
more.
effective without a single piece of live ordnance. The debate still rages among historians.
Careful now.
Was the success of the Ghost Army due to the sheer brilliance of the deception or the relative inexperience of the German intelligence units they were facing? The question hinges on whether the enemy genuinely believed the Phantom forces were real, or if the deception merely acted as a friction factor, slowing down enemy reaction times and forcing them to commit valuable reconnaissance assets to investigating empty threats. You watch as a young corporal, an art student from New York before the war, uses chalk and charcoal to
Was
simulate
ist
the
das?
exhaust stains on the rear deck of an inflatable tank. He steps back, tilts his head, and gives a slight smile. "Needs more rust on the sprocket hub, Sergeant," he calls out, referring to a detail no one on the ground would ever see, but that an aerial photograph might subtly convey. It is the commitment to this hyper-realistic theater that defines your unit. You aren't just creating props, you are fabricating entire military identities. The sheer scale of the deception requires meticulous staff work. You must not only look like a real unit, but you must also behave like one, using the correct radio call signs and traffic patterns of the unit you are impersonating. A crucial task handled by the communicators, which we will examine later. The goal is to present a complete, believable picture to all German intelligence gathering efforts, the eye, the ear, and the radio intercept station. You feel a profound, quiet wonder at the efficiency of the lie. You stand amidst a battalion of tanks that could be crumpled into a few sacks, and you know that miles away, real soldiers are benefiting from the misdirection you are creating. Every hour the German forces spend planning an attack against your Phantom unit is an hour the real forces are using to consolidate their positions, move their logistics, or launch a surprise offensive elsewhere. Your silent, bloodless battle is one of the most effective maneuvers of the war. You are a psychological wedge, forcing the enemy to dedicate resources and attention to a threat that simply does not exist. The chill of the camouflaged forest seems less menacing, knowing that it is a stage for a successful performance, a crucial piece of the larger strategic puzzle. The true terror of the Ghost Army, you realize, is not what the enemy sees, but what they hear. You stand among a grove of tall trees, not in the eerie silence of a truly deserted location, but within a low, rolling din. This is the realm of sonic deception, the oral layer of the colossal lie you are perpetrating. You adjust the massive amplifier system, its valves glowing softly in the twilight. Your unit, the 3132nd Signal Service Company, is equipped with state-of-the-art for the time sound equipment. This is a vital, surprising, or little-known historical fact. The commitment to high-fidelity acoustic warfare. You are the conductor of a Phantom orchestra, and your score is the Symphony of War. Your instruments are gargantuan 500-pound speakers, truck-mounted and powerful enough to project realistic sound for up to 7 miles. These weren't just any recordings. They were painstakingly captured from the real units you were impersonating. You have reels of 78 RPM records, each containing 45 minutes of auditory illusion. The clanking of tank treads, the shouted commands of NCOs, the distinctive whine of a General Patton's Third Army Jeep engine, the heavy thud of engineers constructing a bridge, and the dull, endless roar of thousands of men and vehicles on the move. The task is not merely to play a recording, it is to master the physics of sound projection and manipulation. You are dealing with the principle of acoustic perspective. You must create the illusion of a full division, 30,000 men, moving into position over a distance of several miles. You use multiple sound trucks, staggering the timing and volume to simulate the natural fading and phasing of a massive column passing through the terrain. A tank track sound starts loudly on the left, slowly decreases in volume, and then is picked up by the next set of speakers further down the road, giving the listening post 7 miles away the undeniable impression of thousands of tons of steel advancing steadily toward them. You feel a thrill of quiet wonder at the elegant mathematics of the deceit. The psychological effect is the key. The enemy is trained to interpret the constant noise of a division, moving and setting up camp as a clear indicator of impending attack. There is a controversial or mysterious point here concerning the effectiveness of the sonic deception alone. Some historians question whether the German listening posts, often sophisticated and well-trained, could truly be fooled by recorded sound, especially when played on such powerful speakers. The prevailing counter-argument is that the sonic component was most effective when combined with the other layers of the deception. The visual presence of the inflatable armor, the fabricated radio traffic, and the sheer fact of expectancy. The sounds were the ultimate confirmation, the final piece of evidence that made the enemy commit their reserves or shift their defenses. You remember the cold, tense night when you created the ghost of an entire artillery battalion firing practice rounds. You didn't just play the sound of cannons, you played the sounds of the men around them, the cursing, the laughter, the mundane background noise that lent the illusion its critical air of realism. You smile slightly, realizing the sheer genius of using the boring, the ordinary, as your ultimate weapon. War is not just about explosions, it is about the grinding logistics and the endless human noise, and you are masterfully recreating the noise of a fully engaged, living division. The commitment to realism extends to the field behavior of your men. When they are not inflating tanks or managing sound reels, the soldiers of the Ghost Army, mostly artists and theater specialists, are required to drive real jeeps loudly, wear the insignia of the impersonated unit, and engage with the local populace with the boisterous confidence of the unit they are pretending to be. This is the atmosphere unit in action, ensuring that local informants and civilian reports reinforce the deception. The chill of the camouflaged forest is broken by the fake roar of engines and the manufactured swagger of a passing patrol. You supervise the careful packing of the equipment. Everything must be portable, concealable, and rapidly deployable, often at a moment's notice, to create a completely new phantom division dozens of miles away. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer, and the sonic component is the most difficult to break down and set up again quickly. Yet, the work is essential. Without the sound, you sit in the cramped, crackling confines of a radio truck, the warm glow of the vacuum tubes casting long shadows on your face. This is the fourth and perhaps the most delicate layer of the colossal deception. Radio spoofing and the art of the lie. You are an operator in the 3103rd Signal Service Company, and your weapon is the airwaves. The enemy listens. They don't just watch the skies or hear the fake engines. They monitor the endless, mundane, yet critical chatter that forms the nervous system of any modern army. Your job is to manufacture that chatter, to simulate the dense, high-volume radio traffic of the entire division your unit is impersonating. You become the voice of thousands of men, none of whom actually exist at your location. The process is meticulously planned and executed. You must adopt the specific operating procedures, radio nets, call signs, and even the fist, the unique rhythmic style of tapping out Morse code of the real unit you are mimicking. It's a surprising or little-known historical fact that the communicators in the Ghost Army spent hours studying the idiosyncrasies of the actual units. They learned when an operator usually signed off, how fast a specific company commander preferred his messages sent, and the casual, often sloppy field language that makes military communications sound authentic. You are, in effect, performing method acting over the airwaves. You tap out a message, carefully modulating your speed and rhythm to match the established pattern of a divisional supply officer requesting a large and completely fictitious shipment of fuel. The message is coded, but the volume of traffic and the content, even when encrypted, can reveal troop movements and logistical readiness. Your goal is to convince the German interceptors that this phantom unit is deeply embedded, well supplied, and preparing for a major offensive. You smile slightly, realizing that this is not exactly a deep-fake video, but the Ghost Army's radio spoof has a similarly creepy effect on intelligence gathering. It uses the enemy's own methodology against them, forcing them to process the lie as truth because it adheres so closely to their expectations. The crucial challenge lies in managing the volume. If your unit, 1,100 men, transmits the traffic volume of a 30,000-man division, it must be done with absolute consistency and realism. Too much chatter, and the enemy might suspect an over-eager attempt to deceive. Too little, and they might conclude the division is depleted or non-existent. You are constantly balancing on the razor's edge of credibility. This leads directly to a controversial or mysterious point. To what extent did the German intelligence forces know about the presence of a deception unit? Historians debate whether the German High Command ever fully grasped the existence and scope of the Ghost Army, or if they consistently mistook the Phantom Forces for real units until the last possible moment. The ongoing success of the Ghost Army suggests that even if suspicion existed, the layers of deception, visual, sonic, and radio, created such a convincing and complex picture that it became easier for the enemy to accept the obvious, false reality than to unravel the entire magnificent lie. You pull off your headphones for a moment, letting the sudden silence wash over you. Outside the truck, the inflatable tank sits silently, the massive speakers are turned off, and the scene is one of quiet, camouflaged waiting. Yet, in the minds of the German intelligence officers, the sounds of tanks and the crackle of a busy headquarters are very much alive. General Patton's Third Army is moving here, while you create a diversion there, and the radio waves are the invisible umbilical cord connecting your location to the enemy's strategic planning board. You understand that your actions are about creating friction, not a physical conflict, but a mental one. Every message you send forces the enemy to dedicate manpower to interception, decryption, and analysis of a threat that is purely illusory. Every hour they spend planning a countermove against your Phantom Division is an hour they do not spend attacking the real objectives. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer, and the radio traffic is the stage direction, telling the enemy exactly where to look. You feel a quiet wonder at the efficiency of this bloodless war. You put your headphones back on and start tapping out a series of routine reports. The cumulative power of the visual, sonic, and radio deception culminates in the execution of specific, large-scale operations. You are now moving toward the Rhine River, the critical, final natural barrier into Germany, and your unit is preparing for its most significant performance, Operation Viersen. This is the ultimate military stagecraft, a deception designed to protect the crossing of the 9th and 1st Allied armies. The objective is clear and audacious. You must convince the German High Command that a massive crossing of the Rhine is imminent near the town of Viersen, miles south of the actual target crossing points near Wesel and the Ruhr. You arrive in the area, and the chill of the camouflaged forest gives way to the palpable tension of a major offensive looming. An offensive that you are entirely fabricating. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer. For Operation Viersen, the layers are stacked higher than ever before. You immediately begin deploying your inflatable armor, scores of rubber tanks, trucks, and artillery pieces, creating the false impression of the concentration of two entire divisions, the 30th and the 79th Infantry Divisions. You ensure the vehicles are positioned not haphazardly, but with the precise spacing and operational readiness a real assault force would exhibit. You are fabricating the illusion of a staging area right before the main attack. The sonic deception becomes critically important here. For several days, your speaker systems blast the sounds of continuous troop movements, the heavy thud, thud, thud of engineers driving pilings for pontoon bridges, and the endless roar of truck convoys arriving with supplies. These sounds are projected to the east, across the Rhine, ensuring the enemy listening posts are convinced a massive logistical effort is underway in your sector. A slight smile crosses your face, recognizing the sheer audacity of using sound waves to tie up enemy reserves. Simultaneously, the radio operators of your unit are working non-stop. They generate the heavy, complex network of radio traffic that mirrors the intense communication required to coordinate a major river crossing. They simulate the chatter between divisional, regimental, and battalion headquarters, referencing key terrain.
This scenario highlights an important historical figure and event.
You are operating under the general strategic umbrella of Field Marshal Montgomery's Operation Plunder and General Bradley's 12th Army Group, whose real movements you are designed to shield. You are the shadow cast by their advance, a deliberate distraction to pin down German defenses. The little-known historical fact here is the sheer duration of the deception. Viersen was an elaborate multi-day performance that required your unit to maintain the full illusion, day and night, right up until the moment the real crossings began elsewhere. The controversial or mysterious point surrounding Viersen is the degree of German reaction. Was the deception 100% successful? Evidence suggests that the German High Command did in fact interpret the massive buildup near Viersen as a primary threat, diverting troops, reconnaissance flights, and even initiating counter-battery fire against your empty fields. This misdirection was critical, proving that the cumulative effect of the sensory assault, visual, sonic, and radio, was indeed an overwhelming success in blurring the lines between reality and illusion. The enemy's confirmation bias was fully exploited. They expected a river crossing attempt to involve massive logistics, and you provided them with flawless evidence of exactly that. You feel the pressure mount as the actual crossing date nears. You are ordered to make the transition from a staging area to a live assault force, with your radio operators discussing final assault times and your men moving the inflatable tanks to the river's edge, positioning them as if ready to plunge into the cold water. The chill of the camouflaged forest is now mixed with the sound of roaring, fake engines and the urgency of a manufactured battle plan. You realize that you are not just a diversion, you are a fully scripted, perfectly executed military drama, a testament to the power of creative thinking in the brutal calculus of war.
The silence that follows
Operation Viersen is deafening, You stand on the newly secured eastern bank of the Rhine, the real American divisions having swept forward, their passage shielded by your months of meticulous lying. Your inflatable tanks are deflated, your speakers are silent, and your radio operators have ceased their phantom chatter. Now you face the final and most enduring phase of the Ghost Army's history, the unsung heroes and the cost of silence. You feel a profound sense of isolation. You were an entire army, a critical component of the war's strategy, and yet, overnight, you cease to exist. You are ordered to strike your equipment and maintain absolute radio silence, a state of non-existence that would persist for decades. The official records of the war were written, celebrated, and enshrined in memory. Yet your unit, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, was deliberately excised. This is the enduring, controversial, or mysterious point of your unit, the decades of silence. Why the secrecy?
Is the enduring.
You realize that the technology and, more importantly, the doctrine of sophisticated, multi-layered tactical deception were considered too valuable to reveal. By keeping the existence of the Ghost Army a total secret, the Allies preserved the weapon for future conflicts. The effectiveness of the operation, the simple, little-known historical fact, is that the Ghost Army is officially credited with saving thousands of lives by drawing enemy fire away from real troop movements, demanded that the method be protected.
The Ghost Army,
you were a weapon of mass distraction, and revealing your secrets would have disarmed the tactic for future use. You look at the men around you, the artists, the sound engineers, the actors, now simply soldiers once more, heading home without the parades, the stories, or the official recognition their vital service deserved. These are the unsung heroes. Their heroism was not measured by the enemies they killed, but by the enemies they fooled. They returned to civilian life, many of them becoming celebrated figures in their respective fields, fashion designers, painters, sculptors, and writers. Yet, they could never speak of the grandest, most dangerous performance of their lives.
This mandated
silence carried a cost. For years, the veterans of the Ghost Army carried their secret alone. There were no unit reunions, no shared war stories, and no official recognition for a job well done. The nature of their service, the constant shifting, the intense focus on the art of war rather than the brutality, made their experience unique and isolating. You smile slightly, thinking how you had the only unit in the army where carrying a paintbrush was more important than carrying a rifle. And yet, the fate of entire divisions rested on your performance. The enduring legacy of the Ghost Army is not just in the battles they helped win, but in the permanent shift they represented in military thinking. You were a pioneer in what would later be formalized as information warfare and psychological operations. The lesson you taught the world, though unspoken for 50 years, was that a soldier's mind is a more powerful target than his body. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions were elaborately built, layer by layer, and the final layer was the veil of secrecy, protecting the concept itself. The official records remained classified until 1996. Imagine living a significant portion of your adult life with a spectacular truth locked away, forbidden to share the details of the time you played a pivotal role in ending a world war. General Patton's Third Army is moving here, while you created a diversion there, and the secrecy ensured the enemy would never realize the true scale of the con. You see the faint tracks of the real American armor, now far ahead, and you know their success was your silent victory. You pack away the last of the recording equipment, the chill of the camouflaged forest, giving way to the quiet, reflective peace of a mission accomplished.
Stack 'em high!
Your duty now is not to deceive the enemy, but to keep the ultimate lie from the world. You march away from the Rhine, leaving behind the empty stage of your war, carrying only the memory of the phantom legions.
3, move it!
The story of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops,
This thing is
the Ghost
heavier
Army,
than it
Is
looks.
the ultimate testament to the power of imagination as a weapon of war. You, the soldier artist, were part of a unique 1,100-man unit tasked with impersonating divisions of 30,000 men across Europe. This second-person chronicle led you through the construction of the deception, beginning with the foundational lie of the Phony supply depot. You mastered the use of inflatable armor, turning 90-pound rubber props into terrifying steel threats, and conducted the sonic deception, projecting the overwhelming auditory presence of an advancing army for miles. Your role in radio spoofing taught you the critical art of mimicking military communications, creating a false digital footprint to misdirect enemy intelligence. The ultimate performance, Operation Viersen, saw you successfully protecting the 9th and 1st Army's Rhine crossing. The narrative concludes with the cost of your success, a mandatory silence that preserved the doctrine for decades, making you and your comrades the unsung heroes of a bloodless, brilliant victory. The legacy of the Ghost Army remains a profound case study in psychological and information warfare.